Welcome to Pink Kink,
where we talk about the pretty, twisted side of kink.
I'm Princess Rara.
And I'm Dara, the Electro Khaleesi.
Whether you are a new kinkster or have years of experience, Pink Kink will help you level up your kink knowledge.
Join us on this journey as we talk about our personal experiences and use the knowledge we've gained over 28 years of being involved in both private and professional aspects of this lifestyle to help you explore every facet of kink.
Get set for an adventure. Not only will you learn and grow, but we promise loads of laughter, turning each episode into a fun party. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get this show started. Pink Kink runs off the generosity of our devoted patrons.
As a patron, you will become a member of our special Discord server, receive some adorable Pink Kink stickers, as well as have access to a monthly behind-the-scenes podcast. Patrons also get discounts at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique, and our online classes at Pink Kink Institute.
In addition, our impactful and electrifying Pink Kinksters get special audio and video episodes. And finally, patrons at our highest tier will be recognized as producers, both here on the podcast and on our website.
If you would like to become a patron, you can visit us at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast or click the link at pinkkinkpodcast.com.
Today's episode is produced by our electrifying Pink Kinksters. Thank you, Jay, Witcherman, Brianna Lynn, Daddy J, Fabe, Embers, William P, Claire, Lady Blooding, Naughty and Nice, Butte Pain, Manda Panda, Kat, Stefan, Shadow Phoenix, Brian, Make Cry Devil, Ruby Riot, Mistress Velma, Enchanted Sparrow, The Wombat, Impact Hazard, Twitch, The Midnight Girl, Sinful, J21, Daisy If You Do, AK Harley Chick, Violet Rain, Serenity, Belle, Eric, Lady Affliction,
Pumpkin Pie, Ms. Tourmaline, S'more, Hacksaw, Wee Mad Beastie, To Be Better For Me, 3 a.m. Thoughts, Crash Override, Iro, Kinky Bear, Sviper No Sviping, Barbie, Navigator Bard, Frost, Sinful and Naughty, Coffee and Chaos, Noir, Mr. Pillsbury, Stitch, Peaches, Mighty Owl, Princess Sassy Pants, Chaos Monster, Jessa Lady, DJ Harlow, Ophelia, Drew, Daddy's Pumpkin, Birchbeard, Lady to Kitten, Mongoose, Sadia, Forest, and It's Valentine.
Hey Kinksters, it's Rara. I've got something super exciting to share with you. September is here, and that means it's birthday time for me and Dara. Now we're celebrating in a big way with our annual Patreon drive, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. Joining our Patreon this month is like giving us the best birthday gift ever. And in return, you'll get access to some amazing perks like exclusive content, access to our Discord server, and even some fun surprises. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep bringing you all the kinky, educational, and entertaining content that you love. So if you've been thinking about joining, now's the perfect time to jump in and celebrate with us. Just head over to patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast, pick the tier that's right for you, and join our community of awesome kinksters. Let's make this birthday month unforgettable together. Thanks for being part of our journey, and as always, stay kinky. Who's starting? Usually we argue over who gets to start. I think now we're going to have to argue over you have to start.
Yeah, you start. No, you start. I'm too tired. You start.
Oh,
I'm not even I was telling Daddy J yesterday. I was like, I'm pretty sure we're still going to be dungeon drunk by the time we record because I wasn't really sure what time we were recording. Like, not even hungover, still dungeon drunk.
I'm sleep recording. Is that a thing? Sleep recording?
Yep, sure.
I finally lost the battle with staying awake, and I slept maybe 30 minutes, but not solid. Like I'd sleep for like 10, 15 and wake up, and then sleep for 10, 15 and wake up. And then I'm like, I should eat dinner, but I don't want to cook.
What'd you get?
Yeah.
What'd you order?
I didn't order anything. I literally took my tortillas and threw some cheese on it and made a quesadilla.
Mm-hmm. I slept for 3 hours this afternoon. I could not wake up. I would actually wake up and be like, I have to pee. And then I would pass out. And then I'd wake up and I'm like, I really have to pee. So finally, I actually just got up.
Yeah. So if you haven't figured it out, we were at the dungeon last night. It was our 50 Shades of Pink birthday party for Dara and I. And I'm very proud of Dara because she stayed till the wee hours, way, way, way past her regular
I
bedtime.
stayed until the lights came on. They were screaming at people to get out. I was like, damn, I've never been here
Yeah.
this late.
Oh, yeah. Once the lights go on, it's like, get the fuck out.
Oh, so funny story about that. Should I tell it now or should I wait until the end? Are we going in chronological? How are we doing this?
We're going in, we remember
Okay, this
order.
is how when we remembered it. There was a guy still fucking his partner off the side of the bed thing in the middle of the I don't know, it's like right next to the stage area. You know where it is. But he was still going at it when the lights came on and they had to tell him to stop.
Yeah, it was an interesting night. There was a couple fucking on the bed. And I was watching them because I know the two of them. And then all of a sudden I noticed there was a guy who had apparently grabbed a chair and pulled up right next to the bed and was pleasuring himself while the couple were fucking. And a
Did
bunch
he
of
have
us
a top
noticed-
hat?
I don't remember.
Because
It was an older gentleman. It was an older gentleman.
Kind of bigger, gray beard.
Yes.
He had a top hat. We called him Top Hat. That's oh my God. Okay, when was that?
I don't know. I paid no attention to time. So a bunch of us noticed it and we were laughing because my friends who first noticed it were wondering, does Top Hat know the couple? And I went, well, I know the couple. Never seen Top Hat in my entire life. I highly doubt that the couple knows who Top Hat is.
Nope.
And then I noticed one of the Crucible managers come over and rightfully talk to the guy and say, dude, you can't do this. You cannot pull the chair up so that you get a front row seat to what's happening. That's not how this works. This is not how any of this works.
I mean, voyeurism, yay, but that was a bit much.
Right? And then apparently later, so he sat back down later away. And at this point I had walked away, so I don't know if the couple were still fucking or if this was new couples. And apparently he was sitting down in a chair, had his lotion bottle out, and was sitting and watching things. But at least he was a respectable distance from anything that was happening.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anybody do that in quite a while.
He was doing that during my scene. Yeah. And I kept laughing. Like I kept looking and like, okay, so a friend of mine was coming to get a seat for my scene because we actually did it on the dance floor and walked over to the chair that was near Top Hat and looked and turned right the fuck back around.
Yeah, I think to me, when those things happen, I personally don't get upset. I laugh because I feel like that's the most insulting thing you can do to them.
Is laugh? Oh,
is
and
laugh at them.
There was a lot to laugh at, let me tell you. Well,
I would
not
think
much.
There wasn't. That's why you're laughing.
Yeah, maybe that's more accurate.
But yeah, that shit doesn't bother me. So, all right. So if we're going to kind of go in chronological order at this point.
I mean, I feel like we kind of should so that we can remember.
Right. So I'm going to go back to even before I got to Crucible.
Right.
So I had a huge, huge scene planned for my birthday scene. A very big needles scene planned, basically 300 needles. So I spent most of the day, I don't know, stressing is too harsh of a word. Second guessing myself, being a little apprehensive. Was this something I was going to be able to pull off? I'm very stubborn. And I had told everybody I was doing it. So I was fucking determined I was going to do it and not chicken out because I've told everybody. But I was still a little like, oh dear fucking God, can I do this? And I had planned for Naughty and Nice to drive because I wasn't sure what shape I was going to be in. So she comes and she's trying to be supportive. She comes over early. I do her hair. We do the girly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to be supportive. And I'm like, okay, I need you not to talk about this place because I'm really stressing. But then she started really, really stressing me even more because she was worried about us being late. And I kept saying, we're fine. We're fine. Like, I make this drive so many fucking times from my house. I don't even need GPS at this point, except for the fact that it's DC traffic and you never know when an accident's going to happen.
There's changes that happen to the route.
Right.
So
that's why I use GPS, not because I don't know how to get there, just to know. So that's what I use it for. And I kept saying to her, we're fine, we're fine. And finally I'm like, okay, we can leave now. And we get there. And sure enough, it hardly took us any time to get there. And I went, see, we were good. But it was, and then I had to sit and wait and make and hope and hell that my needle top showed up, because that was the other worry. My needle top has some chronic health conditions and sometimes isn't feeling up to coming to the event. And I thought, I'm screwed. I don't have a plan. Like, you would be weirded out by this. I had no plan B. Like, if learning curve did not show up, I was fucked.
yeah, that would have been that's weird for you.
Yeah. I kept thinking, do I know another needle top that I would trust enough to do that kind of a scene? And I'm like, no, not really. So thank God, as soon as I saw learning curve come in, I was like, oh yes, thank you, Lord. So that was my leading up to even getting there. How were you doing beforehand?
Beforehand, I was trying to figure out my makeup, my clothes. I was stressing about that because I needed something that I could, like, first I was doing electro for a couple of hours, so I needed something for that wasn't going to really get in the way. And then I was doing my scene and I needed something that I could, like, move easily. So I had the outfit that I had originally wanted, but I had to make some changes to the outfit. So I packed tights, I packed shorts. I wasn't really sure what I was going to be feeling. We were right on time leaving exactly when I wanted to. It actually worked out really, really well. We got there exactly perfectly on time. We get in and we're like, okay, where are we doing this? Because the electro station was going to be a little different. We had 2 stations instead of the usual 1, and I had 6 electro tops that were going to be on rotation. They were not aware. Not everybody was aware at the Crucible that this was happening. So we had to do some really fast shuffling, some rearranging, and it worked out. But at the time, I was like, okay, this, what? Because I was under the impression that I was going to be in one spot and they were under the impression I was going to be in another spot. And then we had to combine things and it was wild. But it worked out. It worked out really, really well.
Yeah, it was, getting there was not a problem. I got in. It was kind of funny because everyone kept thinking I was, hosting again. And I'm like, no, I'm not hosting tonight. But I really actually sort of kind of ended up hosting because I just walked around
Yeah.
the dungeon talking to people. Hey, you having a good time? Acting like I'm a host while I'm in there. Then, like, one of the staff members from the Crucible comes around to check all of us off the list, and I'm not on the list.
Guest of honor
Like,
was not on the list.
I get one of the right, but they're laughing because at this point they know me so well. Nobody's questioning it. They're blaming it on Cosmo because we all know Cosmo can be a little spacey about
Yeah.
and unorganized. So it was not a problem. I just got, like, Naughty and Nice was on the list. I just wasn't. My +1 was, not me.
Yeah, of course.
So it was great. And then we were a little stressed, everybody, because the RSVP list was fucking insane. The RSVP list. What was the final number
Final
that we
number
saw?
that we saw like an hour before we actually got there was 748 people.
Yeah. Which, needless to say, if even only half of those showed up, we are already over capacity.
I am actually going to ask in the chat for Crucible what the final number was?
Yeah, I really would love to know what it is. So we were like wondering, and then we started to hear from people. The doors hadn't even opened yet. And we were hearing from people that there was a line around the corner and down the block.
At 8:30, half an hour before it opened.
I know people who said it took them an hour from the time they got in line
Well,
and they showed up at 9 and it took them an hour to get inside.
so I
'Cause that's how
heard,
long the line was.
well, it wasn't just the line. I heard that it was also because they were actually stopping people from coming in for a while because they were at capacity and they had to wait for more people to leave.
Oh, well, that's different. That's not why those people were in the hour.
Oh, it was just the line?
That was how long the
Oy.
line was. Yeah, that's how long the line was. Then there were other people who had to wait because we had reached fire rules capacity,
Mhm.
whatever it's called. And so until other people left, you couldn't come in. And it was just insane. And then again, because love Cosmo to death, and thank God he doesn't listen to this, but disorganized. And Dara had given him the list of our guests. We had people who were important in our lives who we wanted to come to this, and they were on our guest list. And I guess not everybody on our guest list actually made it to the list that Cosmo gave. And now the poor manager, Oz, was so stressed because, like, he came back once. Do you know this person? And he's trying to show me the driver's license of this person. I'm like, dude, I'm not wearing my reading glasses and it's dark in here. I cannot see.
I couldn't even see it.
Right? So he tried you next. Then he says the name out loud and we're like, yeah, oh yeah, we know
No, that's
him.
our guest, yes.
Yeah.
Who was supposed to be on the guest list.
Right? So then he comes back a little bit later now with the second name. And now we're starting to really freak out. So Dara was already working. The event had started. She's already working, doing her electro. So I go and I'm like, let me grab my reading glasses and my phone. I've got the list. And I get my phone and I go into the main lobby where you're allowed to have your phone. And I open it up and he and I go through the list and compare it to what his list is. And there were like 3 people missing. So it turned out to be not a big deal. It just happened to be the people who came first.
It just, yeah, right.
Were a few of the people who were missing. So we had 3 more names. And then we were all good. And we've learned a valuable lesson. We can no longer send the list to Cosmo in a PDF.
Which, normally people appreciate. But apparently you need to do it in I don't understand why you can't just copy stuff from a PDF, but whatever.
Because a PDF is like a JPEG. It's not something you can select just the text that you want to use.
Well, yeah, I know that part. I'm just brain dead. But anyway, it was just how I sent it. I don't know why I did that. But I was sending it from my phone and I think it automatically just did that. So
yeah, next time you just share the Sheets document and that'll work for it. So that was like how we started. And it was really cool because a couple of the people who I had invited who were able to come had not only never been to Crucible before, but had never been to a dungeon before. And needless to say, their mind is a whole lot of blown right now.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a lot to take in, and Crucible on itself is a lot to take in at Risque. This was Risque on steroids. So
it was kind
was
of bananas. And we thought last year was bad.
Yeah, no, this was bigger. So I took them around and I gave them a tour and I'm showing them. I mean, there were people who came to Risque who normally don't come to that event.
Right.
Who came just to help us celebrate our birthday, which was very cool. And I wasn't scheduled for my scene until 11 o'clock. So I was able to just chat with everybody and meet lots of people and show off the Crucible and what we do there.
And I was working for the first 2 hours, which was fun. I love doing it, which is why I wanted to. And then I kind of fucked up. So I had a person come down, amazing electro top named Xavier. I had him come down from Pennsylvania. I invited him. He said he was coming down for the weekend. And I was like, cool, yay. So he gets there and I told him, here's your station. Here's where you're going to be. So he sets up all of his kit, which is like insane. You think mine is nuts? His is absolute fucking batshit. And then I accidentally wrote him on the opposite table's sign. So we had to move his table that he had set things up over. And I was stressed. I had to move people around last second. I thought I had this all planned out and worked. I don't know why I made that big of a mistake, but it worked out. And it all worked out just fine. And he worked for 2 hours. And then somebody else took over. So it was me and Noir for the first 2 hours on the separate tables. And then it was Xavier and Cards on the second round. And that freed me up to go set up my scene.
Right. And then your third round was Vixen, and
It was going to be Hot Asian Guy, but Cards ended up doing it.
Oh.
So
yeah, I had somebody come up to me, go, okay, so which one is Hot Asian Guy? Which one is Hot Asian Guy? So I got to point him out. He's like, oh, okay. Because, the people who know the podcast, we talk about Hot Asian Guy. So the opportunity to finally see who we're talking about. And the reaction is always the same. Oh, yeah, he is hot.
Yep. No, there's a reason we call him Hot Asian Guy. And he insists on being called Hag. Because, okay, so I ended up telling him this story later. But before we started, when we do that gathering, before the show opens, whatever, and Cosmo's telling us all the rules, he says, everybody who's topping for Electro tonight, be here. So we're all here except for like Hot Asian Guy hadn't showed up yet. So we're all there and he's like, blah, 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 rules, blah, blah, blah. If you've never topped here before, da-da-da-da-da, all these rules. And everybody's like, all right, cool. And then he said something like, now, how many of you were there supposed to be? And I said, there's going to be 6. And he goes, well, who's missing? Because there's 5. And I said, well, it's Hot Asian Guy. And he goes, what's that dude's actual name? And I was like, I don't know. I call him Hot Asian Guy. And then Cosmo turns to somebody else. You know that guy, the really tall Asian guy who's like really good looking, always wears the mask? And the other person's like, yeah, I know him. What's his name? I don't know. And I'm saying, no, it's just Hot Asian Guy. Like, he has a name. He has a scene name. I don't fucking know it. I know it means lightning in Korean. That's it.
Well, I know his name, that he, at least, I don't know if it's his official vanilla name or it's just
No, it's a scene name.
A scene name, but he's told it to me. I tend not to use people's names a lot of the time. Like, it was very interesting. I had to introduce a bunch of people last night, and I'm staring at them going, which name do you want me to use? Because I know their scene name and their vanilla name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and now one of them, I know both, but I know he wanted to go by his scene name. And then his partner, I didn't know which name she wanted to use. So I'm like whispering and asking.
Yeah, that's always so confusing.
Right? Then the other couple, I'm like, okay, he just goes by one name. And I know he introduces himself as that.
It's like when you come over to my house and my parents are here and you're like, oh God, what do I call you?
Well, if you'll notice, I just don't use a name.
Uh-huh.
Like, I just don't say any name at all. Right. But it's like, oh shit. And then, of course, this means I have to remember everybody's name. If I'm fucking introducing everybody, a lot of times it just kind of went, why don't you guys just introduce yourself? That'll be easier. And then you know what name you want to go by.
Yeah, that would be much easier.
And then I just shut up and they can pick a name and I don't have to remember a name.
Well, when I was telling Hot Asian Guy the story, he goes, yeah, no, it's really easy. Hag.
Yeah, we're not calling you Hag.
I'm like,
dude.
baby, we're not, that's not a name for you. No, you're way too hot.
And then, of course, so there definitely had to have been people who came specifically to celebrate us on our birthday and know us from Pink Kink. And it is still a little weird for me when people come up to me like we know each other and we're friends. And I don't know who the hell they are, but because they listen to the podcast, they know a lot of shit about me.
Yeah.
A lot of shit about me. And so like we're friends in their view because they know all the stuff about me. And I'm like, I don't know who you are.
That's the weirdest part about doing this. People know all kinds of shit because they listen. And I'm like, what's your name?
Well, I start to wonder, is it that we've met and I've just forgotten, or is it that we've never met? Which is it? Oh, God. So did you have a lot of good scenes in your 2
I
hours?
did. Okay, so I had another 1, 2, 3. Okay, so in 2 hours, I did 6 scenes because they're about 20 minutes. Naughty and Nice was my first one, and she wanted to do tinsel, which she's never done before. So this was the first time I've opened with tinsel. So there's nobody there at 9 o'clock because they're all in line trying to come in. So I'm like desperately trying to get people to come play with the tinsel for her. And I mostly had just like our group, which was cool. It was fine. Everybody who was already there, and it was really cute. And then from there, I had about 3 more severely wiggly, tickly people. And one of them, you'll remember, is Felix from the Munch.
Oh, yeah.
She and I had hit it off really, really well that time. So she's on my table. And I've never quite heard this noise before come out of anybody on my table, but it was like, and I hope you're listening, Felix, if I do this impression right, because it was this weird cross between a squeak and a scream. And it was like a kind of noise every single time. It was so funny. And she's one of those people that when you tickle would roll. So me and her
Oh, like away from you?
but like off the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah. No, don't roll off the table.
Oh my
people.
God. I was desperately trying to at one point I reached over and grabbed her by the opposite hip and pulled her back, shocking myself and her in the process, which made her try to roll back away. So me and her partner are bracing each side of the table. And she's at one point, twice, she kicked me because I was doing it down her legs, and she like donkey kicked backwards and up. More like a fish kick or a dolphin kick. I don't know what exactly kind of kick, but she was hilarious. Like, we were dying. And then the other interesting thing was, you know how my station normally fills up like within 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Well, this time we had 2 stations. And I kept telling people, hey, guess what? There's another station. There's 2 stations this time. We're rotating people. There's going to be all kinds of people tonight. Oh my God, that's so cool. At least 2 people that I am aware of. I think there might have been another one, but at least 2 people that I spoke to did not sign up once they realized I was done at 11 and those spots were already taken. Our friend Ardex, the one that screams and howls and does jungle noises, he dropped the pen and walked away.
Oh, Adex.
Adex? What'd I say?
Adex.
I put an
Ardex.
R in there. Yeah, Adex.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just dropped the pen, glared at me, and walked away. I'm like, whatever.
So sad. Too bad, dude.
I was like, you're here all the time, and you get to have scenes all the time. I don't feel bad.
No.
So I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I just literally walked around for 2 hours talking to people, which for me is, I'm in my
normal.
happy place doing that.
Mhm.
I didn't mind that
You
at all.
were gathering the energy of the people to use.
I was distracting myself actually. Cuz like, when you've got a certain time you're doing something, like time was going really slow. So I got to sit and hang and talk to Xavier for a while, which was a lot of fun. And he and I have talked about maybe doing a fire flogging scene.
Oh, cool.
Because I kept talking to the people. So what happened is this time, normally Dara is on the other side, the opposite corner of where the blood play area is.
Not
and this time they were next to it. So Dara was at the second table, which put her a little further away from the blood play. But there was one table right up against the wall of the blood play area. So every time people kept working at that table, I'm like, are you going to look, or are you going to angle your body so you don't look? And then when I found out that Xavier was going to be topping during my scene, I'm like, are you okay with blood? And so then we got talking about his kinks. And we have a lot of the same kinks. So it was very cool. And then we started talking about
teaching and why we like to teach and what we want out of it. We had a lovely conversation about how we need more female tops at events
Oh, yeah, he's big
because
into that.
it's a different vibe. So, yeah. And the problem is a lot of the events, like he's telling me about, I'm like, I have other events that I work at that I can't go to. So, like Exoticon here in our area, I'm never available because it's the same time as Naughty Noel, and I'm at Naughty Noel, which we're laughing because he keeps being asked to teach at Naughty Noel, but he never can teach at Naughty Noel because he's at Exoticon, right? It's like it's like I understand. I want to do all the things, and you can't do all the things. So it's just I couldn't do it. So, but we were talking about it, and it was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to him. I love talking to other people a couple of people who literally came just for my scene because they're fascinated by needles. A couple of people who were like, okay, I'm here to support you, but I don't really actually want to watch your scene. I'm like, that's fair too. You're here with me in spirit, and I appreciate that. I got to admire the different pink outfits and tell everybody how much I loved and appreciated they're wearing pink.
There was one that looked like a straight up frosted cupcake. It was so cool.
I gave Uncle Eric grief about not wearing pink. So he was all in black. I said, all right, well, that's at least pink and black are kind of our colors. It's not the full pink, but I'll take it.
Well, I apparently forgot to tell Xavier about the pink.
Oh, he mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
But he looks good in black, so it's fine.
He was fine. It was fine. All right, so why don't you talk about your scene?
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah. Yeah. So let me just preface this by saying it did not go as planned at all.
I mean, you ended up doing sort of kind of what you had set out to do.
The end goal worked. It just wasn't how I wanted it to be. So, well, I was doing a humiliation scene because Rara and I usually do big things that we've never done before. The goal is to push ourselves. We do this for our birthday. It's a tradition. Last year, I did a splashing scene, which I'd never done before, which was wild. And this year, I decided to do humiliation. But my humiliation type is a little bit different than normal. I don't take compliments very well. Like, if somebody tells me, oh, that's so good, this thing that you did for work, you did a great presentation. Cool, I can take that because I meant to. But certain things, I absolutely cannot take compliments very well at all. And I blush and I stammer and I'm like, oh, no, just stop talking. I can't do it. So that was the point of this scene, was people would write down compliments, and our awesome friend Tomcat walked around with a bowl, some pens, and Post-it notes all night to...
Okay. And in fairness, though, so did Chaos Monster because Tomcat wanted to do a scene.
Yes.
So Chaos Monster was the substitute while Tomcat did the scene.
It was funny as hell because she was getting ready to do the scene and somebody said, hey, who's going to take care of the compliments while you're doing the scene? She turns around, hands the bowl to Chaos Monster and goes, you're it. And he's like, okay. He's so chill and easygoing. Like, it's just really cool of him. So between the two of them, we got a bowl full of Post-it note compliments. So at about 11, I was off. I fixed my fuck up with the whole moving Xavier over thing. And then so already something was wrong. I'm just going to, looking back on it, something was wrong. I couldn't think correctly. I was really, really high off of those scenes or something. And I was trying to I grabbed the wrong pants. I went to the bathroom and I had my leggings instead of my shorts. I couldn't seem to get my brain to work to get everything I fucking needed for this scene. We didn't know where the scene was going to be, so we were trying to figure that out. Twice, I ran back and forth because I forgot something. I had everything with me. I didn't forget a single thing last night. It was amazing. I brought all the things with me. But somehow, right after I was topping, I was not together. And poor Cards was trying to set up to take over his spot. And he was just like, are you okay? Do you need something? Can I help you find anything? And I'm like, pants. He goes, you're holding pants. I'm like, no, my other pants. And like, we were trying to find stuff and it was just really, really stupid.
So do you think you were like in just very high top space?
At that point, yes, I was incoherently in top space. Also, I think I'd only had maybe a quarter of a bottle of water. So that was another problem. I'd only had a few sips the whole time, and I was trying really hard to get going on this scene because I wanted it to be done by the time your scene was over so I could blow out the candles. And I went to, so we finally got it all situated, and Sofina was there. God bless her in every way, because
looking hot as fuck.
Oh God, did you see that outfit? Oh my God. She came in and she started booby bouncing at me, and you know that scene in Roger Rabbit where the eyes bug out and the tongue rolls down? That was me. So, God damn. So we're situated, and she says, okay, we're doing it on the dance floor. You're going to hang on to the pole, and there's going to be a spotlight. And I was like, what? She goes, you said you wanted a humiliation scene. We're doing this. I was like, okay, cool. I'm ready. I can do this. So I'm on the dance floor. I'm holding face paint crayons for her, and she's pulling out different colored crayons for each word. She's dropping the Post-it notes on the floor, and we're like dancing a little bit. I'm turning a little bit so everybody can see what she's writing on me. I don't know if you can see this, but I still have the writing on me because I didn't bother wiping it off yet.
Washing it off. Yeah.
Yeah. The plan is after this, but let's see. This one says Fury because it was supposed to be Night Fury for Toothless. This one says Mesmerizing. There's a couple of amazings. This says Electric, Welcoming, and there's like 3 or 4 funnies. Apparently I'm really funny. So I have them like all over my arms, my feet, my legs. We're really going for this. It was so much fun, and I start to feel lightheaded. And I'm like, well, shit, I'm really going into subspace. So I sort of like leaned into it, I was like, cool, I'm going to ride this high. And then it didn't feel good anymore. It didn't feel like the good kind of high. I started to feel nauseous. I started to feel dizzy. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a problem. And I'm thinking to myself for like probably a solid 5 minutes that we were up there, like, okay, breathe. Okay, what are we doing? Okay, you're not doing too good. So I finally said to Sofina, I was like, I don't feel good. And I think it took her a second to realize what I was saying, and I had to say it again. And at that point, I started to fall. And the only thing I remember is chair, chair, chair. And by the way, this was right before this, I had just been laughing about Top Hat masturbating in a chair right in front of us.
I hope you're in a different chair than he'd been sitting in.
Oh, why the fuck would you bring that up?
Humiliation. I'm adding to your humiliation.
That is not a good. That's just vile. I don't think it was his chair. It was somebody who was closer. But Sofina and I had just been laughing about the fact that he was doing that right in front of us. And then the only thing I remember is chair, 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 and I'm falling. Now, what everybody was telling me was that I kind of did it in slow-mo and sort of like melted downward, but it didn't feel like that to me. And I think I was still partially conscious, but I couldn't talk and I couldn't think and I couldn't open my eyes, but I could sort of hear. It was like being underwater. You could hear things, but I wasn't making any sense of anything. Now, again, this is what was told to me. Sofina says that she got right in front of me because you know how what you do is you get in front of the person to catch them.
Yep.
Well, backstory, me and Sofina met when I was also very, very high coming off of my very first knife play scene. It was her first party. She walked in the door. She goes into the dungeon and I faceplant on her tits. That's how we met.
So you've come full circle.
Yep. So last night I face planted on her tits. And so now we're calling her safety tits.
Works for me.
Because she just catches people's faces with her tits and they're great. So it was worth it. But I don't remember a whole lot other than there was a nurse, I guess, right in front of me. And they were like, okay, we're going to check you out. They were asking me questions. And Rara, they fucking asked me who the president was. And I was this close to saying Harris.
Aww.
I was apparently in the future at the time. But I honestly couldn't remember Biden. And I kept trying to say it, but it was coming out I almost said Harris. And then
oh, your mouth to God's ears, honey.
But it was so funny. And then they were like, okay, what year is it? And it took me a second. I was like, well, I know it's 2024, like, talking like I know what I'm talking about, but I was not sure. And then I remember seeing little spots and just kind of like my whole body feeling really heavy and my head feeling heavy. And that's why I fell forward. And I don't remember Daddy J being anywhere near me, but I remember like trying to find him, but I don't remember any of this. So they got me outside. There was Safina, Daddy J, a nurse, a doctor, and Fez. This is what I remember seeing after getting outside. They pulled my wig off me. I was sitting in a chair. I'm completely barefoot, by the way, in a little negligee. And they poured freezing cold water on me.
Red. Oh, sorry.
Oh! I woke up. And then
yeah, that wake me up too.
Well, they put washcloths on my neck and back and then poured the water on that. And I'm like, but apparently also there was a very large crowd around me. And I remember feeling like I was suffocating. Like, do people not know that you're not supposed to do that when somebody's fainting? You're not supposed to crowd around them. I know we have a lot of friends there who were very concerned.
Sheer curiosity. It's a combination of people who actually know you and are concerned and people who don't know you and are curious as hell.
But if my husband can't get through the crowd to get to me, that is a problem.
Yeah.
I was outside and people were like kind of coming and kind of not coming. And I woke up to a shit ton of text messages, let me tell you. But yeah, that is not how my humiliation scene was supposed to go.
Hey, were you humiliated?
Oh, yeah.
Then there you go.
I was going for positive humiliation, and now I'm talking about it, so it's going to be worse.
Excuse me. I'm positive you were humiliated.
Oh, yeah, that works. I'm sure. Anyway, I was yelled at to go get an EKG, and because apparently it was my blood pressure that like bottomed out. And
well, how much did you eat yesterday?
Oh, I ate dinner right before, like half an hour before we left. Trust me, I ate. They were giving me Gatorade, and what really helped, and I was dry heaving at that point, so what really helped was I keep these candies in my purse, ginger lemon drops for anti-nausea. Oh, they work so well.
I didn't say they didn't work. I'm just not a ginger fan.
Oh, I'm not either. They make my teeth hurt, but I did it anyway. So the candy really, really helped. It helped with the nausea. It helped bring me like and somebody said, oh, you're getting some color back. And I was like, was I colorless?
Probably.
I don't know. So that was weird. So I got yelled at by a bunch of different medical people.
Again, humiliated.
Yeah. Some of them I didn't even know. But cool. Yeah, that's fine.
There you go. But there was a happy ending. You're okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not need to go to the hospital or anything. I'm fine today. I was alert. I'm awake. I even finished Rara scene with her. So that's fine. Which, by the way, watching people's reactions to watching you was the highlight of my fucking night.
Oh, you'll have to tell me because I wasn't paying a lot of attention to the people around me, and I'll explain why when I tell my story. What was the reaction?
Oh, no. Well, do you want me to tell you right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, mostly vomited looking. So Minnie got there very, very late because she was one of those people that had to wait outside until the area cleared enough to let more
Mhm.
people in. And so she gets there. She's hanging out by the electro table. We're sitting on the table playing around. Oh my God. We played a slightly mini version of Electro Twister. Holy fucking shit, was that fun. We have to play it for reals. So anyway, she's looking at you and the expression on her face. Let's see if I can do this. I can't describe it, but it was.
You're gonna have to describe it. We're on
Okay,
audio.
hold on. Let me see if I can do this. It was. So like one eye closed, the other eye half open, bubble cheeks. You know, the face you make when you're trying to hold back your sick?
Yeah.
And we're telling her, I was like, why are you looking? And she goes, I can't stop.
It's like a train wreck, people.
I'm fascinated, but she was doing one of those. And the entire crowd around there was just watching her watch you. It was the funniest. So many people were making the same face.
Well, it was very interesting because I had there were a lot of other different scenes going around and I could hear. And there was one of the people, she's actually a friend of mine, very sweet. She got me a gift. She's such a sweetheart. She's a screamer. I've done a scene with her. I've topped her for Impact on Needles, and she's a fucking screamer. And she was doing a scene at one point at the table right behind me, and I'm laughing because I'm doing my scene, and you're not hearing a fucking sound out of me. I am quiet as quiet can be. And she's behind me. I don't even know what she was doing. And she's shrieking so loudly.
God.
It was really funny. But actually, it was really cool because we both top for Staples. So I think we're going to do a scene where we're going to get to top each other for Staples. I've topped her for Needles now, too, and Impact on Needles.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to start to do, she's nuts like I am and likes the same shit that I do. So anyway, so before I had even done my scene, before we opened the doors at 9, I had gone to talk to Rain, the photographer, about getting pictures done. And if she could come over to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was concerned about a couple things. First of all, when we take pictures of people with needles at these events, you have to count the number of needles before you leave the needle area. You walk to where the photo area is. You have to count the needles in the photo area. You take the pictures, you count the needles again in the photo area, you walk back to the blood play area, and you have to count the needles again.
Yeah, no.
And I thought at 300 needles, that's a fucking ton of needles to have to count 4 times. So I was like thinking, is there a way you could come to me? And then Rain's like, well, what exactly are you having done? And I told them the number, and she looked at me, she goes, oh no. She goes, you are not walking to me. I don't know what shape you're going to be in. I don't know how spacey you are.
You're not going to be able to walk,
to me.
first of all.
I am coming to you. I said, okay, cool. And then Learning Curve pulls out pink and white beads. Goes, look what I got. I thought this would be really cool to put the beads on the needles and really decorate you. And I thought, cool, that sounds perfect. I love the idea, especially because I had just spent the last week being a crazy, fiendish maker of friendship bracelets for smut lovers.
You were a crazy craft lady.
I was a total crazy craft lady. I did in basically like a week, 100 friendship bracelets. So I thought this was apropos that Learning Curve was basically going to turn me into a human friendship bracelet.
Yeah, I was supposed to get pictures after my scene. That didn't happen because they all got washed off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I pout. Anyway, continue.
So now comes the pre-setup, right? 300 needles. We empty the boxes. We take them out. Learning Curve is counting. We figure out 125 in each breast and then 25 on each thigh. And so piling up the needles, okay, and counting them out because they're figuring out I'm doing rows. Like we started at 11:15 is when we finally got started. And I swear to God, the first 10 minutes was just prep, counting out the needles, dividing them up. There were needles on my left side of my body and needles on my right side of the body. The thigh needles were in a separate pile than the boob needles and for rows. Like that took forever. And then we started. Now, I was doing 23 gauge needles, which are not they're not very big needles. Like
Mm-mm. They're
20
smaller in diameter than the ones that go through your ear, like your basic ear posts.
Yeah, there's no comparison to when you get your ears pierced, you're like 16 gauge. These are 23
Mm-mm.
gauge.
No, they're
And
20 gauge. Normally.
oh, not the people I've talked to told me they were 16 when they
Well,
got pierced.
okay, well, normal ear piercings when you first do it are 20, and then you can
Okay.
gauge them to like 18 or 16.
Yeah. So we started doing that. And the reason we chose 23 for a couple reasons. I knew that once the needles were going to go in 300, that's going to hurt like fucking hell. So I didn't want to do really big needles, but we needed to make sure that they were big enough that they didn't bend. And there was a worry because as we're putting the needles in my breasts and we're adding the beads to it, they're becoming very heavy. My breasts are becoming very, very heavy from all this weight. And so we were worried about bending. So the needles start going in. And in order to fit them all, I've got needles going almost in my armpit area because I have if you've seen my boobs on FetLife, and they're there for anybody in the world to see, they're extremely round. And they go all the way out into pretty much into my armpits. So I'm having needle practically in my armpits and then all the way in my cleavage. Some areas, super simple, easy, barely hurt. Other areas, a little tougher. And then as we're going through this and they're taking longer, the pain is growing, the weight, they're getting very heavy and it's pulling it down. And then the other problem is because of the weight, it's getting harder for learning curve to get not so much the needle in, but to have the poking back out. So there are a couple of times I have to lift my breasts and move it. Every time they pick up my breasts and move it, that's painful and it's hurting me. And I'm just trying to process the pain. I'm doing a lot of breathing in my head, in for 6, out for 8. But I'm also having to be careful because they're in my face. I don't want to exhale into their face.
Right.
So it's more like I'm still doing most of the breathing through my nose, even the exhale, so that I'm not blowing hot air into their face while they're concentrating. And every once in a while, they take a tweezer out to help pull the bottom of the needle back out. And so we'd get a whole bunch in, and then we'd figure out how many were there so I could announce to the crowd. Now, the crowd would kind of come and go. There were a couple of people, a couple of good friends who stayed the whole time. But again, we started at 11:15 and we didn't finish till after 1:00.
Right.
So that's a long time for people to stand there the whole time. And I understand. At one point, Fez came over to check because Fez is also a needle nut. And so Learning Curve put Fez to work, and he pre-opened up packages and got them ready so Learning Curve could open them easier. But then he messed up the piles and the numbers.
Oh no.
Got in trouble. Cosmo was coming over going, "How's it going? Oh my God, that's a hell of a lot of needles." I'm like, really? You're telling me? I'm the one with them in my fucking body. I know. And then it was so cute because Chaos Monster, who does not do needles at all, was there watching at different points and was like signaling to me, "Do you see me? I'm watching you. I'm here and I am watching this. This is my birthday present to you. I am actually watching you do this." And I would go through different stages where I would watch the needles go in, but I'm not a big fan of watching them go in. Once they're in, I'm fine. But to watch them go in is a little weird. So there are a couple times I'd close my eyes. If you do watch my facial expression, most of the time it's very serene, but every now and then what we're doing is hurting. And you can tell that from my face that I'm hurting. Pretty much the face you just made, Dara, that's the face that I make sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, that's smarted.
It was the
Like I would turn to naughty and nice every once in a while and go, ow. Like, ow, this hurts.
Mm-hmm. Like what you do when you get hit. Ow.
Right. Every now and then Learning Curve would be like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I'm good, I promise. And I kept telling, because Learning Curve was like, "There's no room on this table, so you cannot pass out because I've spread the needles all around."
And if you pass out, there's no place for you to pass out onto.
Don't worry, I passed out for both of us.
Right? Well, and I said to Learning Curve, I said, I've never passed out in my entire life, and I don't intend to start now.
Well, I didn't either. But
Yeah, but you've passed out before, haven't you?
only one time, and that was because I put my earring in at the wrong angle and I hit a nerve in my ear.
Yeah. I've never, of all the shit I've done, I've never passed out. So I'm like, I'm not going to start now. And I just said, look, I'm just processing the pain. I'm getting through. This definitely hurts. And I mean, this was one of the most painful things I've ever done. So instead of making me hyper, it did not make me hyper at all. I was definitely very, I don't want to say very spacey, but I was definitely spacey. I don't think I could have walked. So I'm very glad that they came to me for the pictures. So we got the first 100 in, and I like announced to the crowd, 100 down. Actually, I think the first one went in. The first one went in and I went, 1 down, 299 to go. So what do you think we did at that point? 299 needles in me, 299 needles. You put one in, you grab another, 298 needles in me.
Wow.
And I got some people singing. Like, what are you supposed to do? I'm sitting there for almost 2 hours.
I think at that point I was outside, so I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, we're laughing. You have to, my people are very big on laughing so we don't cry.
Gen X?
And Gen X Jews, it's, Gen X is suck it up, buttercup. And I was sucking it up. And then every now and then, Learning Curve would remind me to breathe, because I guess I forgot to breathe.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Which always makes me laugh. Like, how do you forget to breathe? But every now and then I'd have my water hand like shoved into my hands, and I got ordered drink. So I'd have to drink some water. I think at some point I was starting to tense up because it was really starting to get hurt. So Learning Curve was like, relax your shoulder. Like, this was the most Learning Curve's ever had to direct me.
Oh,
Because this is truly the hardest scene I've ever done. So we finished with the boobs, and I'm like, all right, 250 down. We are in the last 50. So as we're at the last 50, like every two, I think, like once we get down to 40, I yelled out to the crowd, 40 left. We got 40 left.
I think
Then I got down to,
I was on the table at that point next to you guys. Yeah.
oh yeah, you were over at the electro area.
Yeah. But
So
that was when we were watching you and making faces. It was right before you started the thighs.
Right. Then it's like, okay, 30. We've got 30 left. And then I got excited because at one point Learning Curve's like, your math is off. And I had one less to go than I thought I had. So I was like, yay. It would have been awful if it had been the other way. But one less to go. So we started to count down. It's like 10. But Learning Curve was, because they're ambidextrous, they were putting in 2 at a time on my thighs. So it'd be like 10, 8. I was like New Year's. We're all and the audience is all counting down.
And at that point, I took off running.
Right. Then we also needed to we were putting in candles. So I had 2 candles. I did not know the plan. I had said to put them in my legs. I should have been more specific, because Learning Curve put them at the top of my knee. They were in my knee.
We did notice that.
Oh, yeah. I forget. Not only is Learning Curve a needle top, Learning Curve is a sadist. And apparently the pain that I was feeling from all of these needles was not sufficient enough for them. They needed to up it just a little bit more. So I got the needle into my knees. And then we'd get down to finally the last one. And we got it in. And everybody started cheering. I have to tell you, I am not normally a person who ever cries in public. For as much as I cry like a fucking baby at home, and they're happy tears. Like, I don't have to just be sad tears. I will cry happy tears. Dara's seen me because I'll laugh so hard I'll cry.
Yeah.
Like,
I've seen you almost pee your pants. So
right. I cry very easily, but some stuff I'm very private. My pain, I'm very private about crying because of my pain, physical, mental, emotional, whatever. But this was such, between having conquered this and achieving this thing, despite the fact that it hurt. Like, I can't begin to describe.
Well,
I
plus
will
the
tell you,
endorphins were going nuts on you.
the endorphins were not kicking in enough to help me with the pain. Comparing this to my kidney stones, I will tell you the only difference is my kidney stone pain makes me nauseous. This pain was not making me nauseous. And the pain's obviously in a different location. But this was extremely painful. This was really the most pain I've ever felt from a scene. And having conquered that and achieved that, and the fact of, I mean, I looked out and the people who were cheering me, there were people that I knew and loved, and there were strangers. And like as I was nearing the bottom, they're cheering me on, going, "You can do this. You got this. You've got this. Oh my God, you're amazing." I got really teary-eyed from having achieved this goal. And then we lit the candles. People started singing happy birthday before we even fully got the candles lit.
Yeah. Well, the candles were taking too long.
Well, there was one candle that just didn't want to light. And then I don't know if you noticed, but when you blew out the one candle, they both went out.
Oh, I was aiming for that.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of going like up and across so I could get both.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and yes, I had checked with Dar. Did she really want to blow out the candles, being she was going to be that close to where the needles were?
I don't care. I was
and
not
I had
missing
consent.
it.
There was consent.
I was not missing it.
And there wasn't a lot of blood.
No, not at the, no. See, you notice I ran the fuck away when you guys were taking the needles out. I was gone.
Right. So it was, so that I really, really got incredibly teary-eyed. And I definitely was in no condition to walk or move anywhere. So it's a good thing I sat there for quite a while longer. So before we even get everything, can take the needles out, learning curve starts setting up. So first, they have me move back. So I'm moving. And you have to, every time I move, my boobs are swaying.
Oh, yeah. And they gave you the hug and like from behind and were like kind of shaking you a little bit.
Oh, that was after. That was,
the cheering.
Oh, fucking shit. That was after they were out. And it still hurt that badly.
No. It was while they were in.
Before, they're trying to move me back. That's right. They were moving me backwards.
No. I don't think you realize, like, oh man, you were like, so learning curve came up and held you by the shoulders. It was like, good job. Like one of those.
Yeah.
And your boobs were moving and I could see your face going, what the fuck?
So much pain. So much fucking pain. So, but I had to like lift a thigh so they could stick a chucks underneath and lift the other thigh and stick the chucks underneath. And we got so they got those off. But some of the beads kept falling to the floor.
Oh, God.
So we had to cut off the area. Nobody was allowed back there except me, learning curve, and Fez. So Fez was standing there keeping anybody from coming into the medical area, even though there was 2 tables behind us they could have used. Because if you think about it, those beads were contaminated.
Yeah.
And we couldn't risk anybody touching them. And it was like every time one dropped, learning curve was like, fuck it. And I'm laughing because I know that at some point I have to move my sofa and get all the goddamn beads that are underneath my sofa.
Yeah, and you're just going to be repeating, fuck it.
Right? Yeah. And I missed that at one point, right? Thank God I had brought 4 boxes of 100 each. So I'd brought 400 needles because we did drop one needle before it got into my body. So we couldn't use it.
Well, it's a good thing you had extra.
So that's why I brought the extras. I'm a Virgo. I was planned. So we got those out and I had to put pressure on my legs. And now it was time to do the boobs. Those hurt just as much coming out as they did going in, especially because fucking goddamn learning curve doesn't pull them out gently. That's part of their fun, is to make it hurt on the way out, and would pull out 2 or 3 at a time and not necessarily straight and pull them out. They lifted my boob up to put the chucks underneath my boob and not gently. And they're pulling out the thing. And I just kept looking at learning curve going, well, that's not very nice of you.
And they're like, well, yeah.
And that was their response. Like, well, yeah. So finally takes a long time to get 250 more needles out. We filled up the sharps container We had to turn it into the management for them to get rid of because we filled up the sharps container. There were so many. And I sat there before. Oh, and I also forgot before we even started taking them out, I started to get the shakes, which I don't think I've had the shakes from the endorphin dump since my early, early, early days of doing scenes, like my first year. And I started to get the shakes. So here I am, I'm cold, my body is shaking, which isn't helping the goddamn needles in my boobs because they're shaking. But we finally get it out and I'm putting pressure on it. And then Learning Curve had to take another customer because there was somebody who had gotten staples in earlier who were coming back to get the staples out. And I needed to sit there because I could not stand. So again, Learning Curve shoved me over. And you would think by that point it wouldn't hurt as much because the needles are out. You'd be wrong. My boobs bouncing were still hurt like a motherfucker. So I got moved over and I got to meet this lovely person. They reached out to me on FET this morning to say thanks for sharing. Their scene name is Pinky. So I'm like, well, we got to be friends. Your scene name is Pinky.
Clearly.
Clearly we're friends. And then eventually we were done. Then Learning Curve sprayed antiseptic spray all over me to also clean the blood off, clean everything up. And again, not gently, wipe down my thighs and my boobs to clean them. Like if looks could kill by that point. And so when finally we're done, luckily I clot very fast because there were, if you think about it, 302 needles. 300 needles that go in and out, that's 600 holes. So 600 holes.
Why are you asking me to think about this?
Right? Not you. I'm sorry. That was not for you. That was for the listeners.
Okay. I'm thinking maybe we should have done a content warning on this.
Well, you can still add one at the beginning. And so I finally was able to get dressed. And I knew I didn't want to put my outfit back on because I didn't want to potentially get blood on my pretty pink dress. So I was like, before I had packed like an outfit to go in. I'm like, what should I take? Oh, I could take this beautiful pink sweatshirt, which I love. It's so soft and comfy. But then I'm like, but it's like light pink. I don't want to get blood on it. And I found the perfect shirt. It is the shirt that I bought from the Rain of Blood conference.
I did recognize that.
That has an R.
I did think it was appropriate.
R with a crown on it. And the R is supposed to look like it's bleeding.
Oh yeah, no, it was perfect. I did notice.
I'm like, if there was no better shirt to wear than that. So I put that on. Meanwhile, Naughty and Nice had gone off to do a scene, and with my permission, she had checked with me. Did I need aftercare? Was I okay? And I'm like, I was okay. I didn't really. The fact that I sat as long as I sat and talked to Learning Curve as long as I did, like that was as much of any kind of an aftercare as I needed. And so eventually I said my goodbyes to everybody and it was time to go. And then I had to make the drive home, which was an adventure because every time I'm not wearing a bra, folks. And every time we hit a speed bump or any kind of like hole in the ground and the car bounces, my boobs bounce. And it's like, oh. Then at one point she like took the corner a little. It probably wasn't too fast. It just felt like it at the time. And so my boobs kind of swung to the side and then swung back. And I'm like, oh my God, this is killing me.
It's like some kind of psychotic pit in the pendulum.
So finally, when we get home, when she has to turn the right into my complex, she's like, okay, I'm so sorry. She must have turned at like 2 miles per hour to try to turn as slowly as possible so my boobs didn't go. And then I had to sleep last night in clothes because I was afraid to sleep naked and potentially get blood on sheets and stuff.
Oh no, Rara had to sleep in clothing.
I don't sleep in clothes, and I'm a stomach sleeper.
Oh God.
So I tried as long as I could to not go onto my stomach. But finally, I'm like, okay, I can do this. And I very gingerly, slowly like instead of wiggling around, like I had to get up on hands and knees and just kind of like come down. So it'd be straight down. And then I can't move. Because if I move, my boobs get squished. It was an adventure. And now today, they hurt, but it's better. I took some Tylenol just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got a lot of holes in my boobs. And for anybody who's curious, I can't post the pictures yet of the needle scene. Those will probably take a couple of weeks to come out. So it'll come out after after this episode comes out. And depending upon if there's blood in them or not will depend on if FetLife will let me make them public. But I did post a picture of my smiling face where you could just see the holes in my boobs. So if you're curious, and that's not even including the ones on my thighs. So if you're curious what 250, technically 500 holes look like in a boob, that's it. But I had just gotten the needles out and was just sitting there trying to staunch any bleeding when Learning Curve goes, okay, so for next year.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked at them and I went, all right, what's the plan for next year? And they're like, okay, so we're going to do 400 needles next year, but we're not doing beads because that just takes way too long. And we're going to go up a size so that we don't have to worry about the bendiness of the 23. So we'll go up to, I guess, 22 gauge. So 400 needles at 22 gauge is next year's plan because I turn 60 next year.
You're going to die.
So I sort of have decided I am not going to do my original plan, which was the hook suspension, because I'm not excited about that one. I'm like only scared versus the 400 where, yes, I have some fear involved because it's 400 needles, but I'm excited. It's a different kind. Well, the hook suspension, I'm not in the right headspace for it. So, that would occur in January, and my birthday's not till September, so no thank you. So if you are in the DC area, the second Saturday of September of 2025, plan on coming back to 50 Shades of Pink Risque. I'm going to do 400 needles, and I'm sure we'll come up with something for Dara to do too.
There's
that'll be
always
amazing.
something else that I can do. I'm probably going to do a different type of scene every year.
Yeah.
So like where Rara just goes more intense, I'm just going to do something completely different.
Yeah. Well, that's who we are. We are completely different. Our interests are different. Our likes and dislikes are different. And as I always tell people, I think it's one of the things that makes this podcast amazing, because no matter where you fall on the spectrum of kink, we got you, between the two of us, we got you covered.
Basically, yes. All right. Well,
So
that was our birthday.
It was an amazing year. Thank you to everybody who was there last night. It was a hell of a night. And I don't know about you, but I walked away feeling very loved.
Oh, yeah.
And very, very thankful for our sheer luck of having such an amazing fucking community. The fact that many people came to our party to celebrate.
No, that was crazy. But I did, like a bunch of people said happy birthday to me. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. They're like, are you Dara? Yep. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you. And then, of course, our lovely Katie Rose, it was also her birthday. So I'm sure she got to do a cool scene or two that I didn't get to see, but it was okay.
Yeah. I didn't really watch scenes other than the one couple fucking on the bed. But that was more, I was talking to people and just happened to be in front of me. And we were really watching Top Hat more than anything.
Yeah, no, I watched several couples fucking last night, and not all of them were watchable. Not all of it was more like watching Top Hat.
Yeah.
Which was gross.
I just laugh. That just cracks me up.
I was laughing when I saw him at my scene. I was like, what the fuck are you even masturbating to?
I didn't see him at mine, so apparently he doesn't do needles. So cool.
Well, hey, there's a plus.
So maybe you should take up needles.
No, thank you. But yeah.
Fine.
I was like, there's nothing for you to see. So, all right. Well, cool beans.
All right. So we'll see you guys next year for this. And for the rest of you, we'll see you next week. Thanks for hanging out with us today. If you enjoyed what you heard, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a minute of our fun and educational content. New episodes drop every Friday.
If you love what we do and want to show support, there are several ways. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com/pinkkinkpodcast. You can support our affiliates or help spread the word about our kinky podcast to your friends.
Don't forget to rate and review Pink Kink on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Those 5-star reviews go a long way in boosting our podcast through the algorithm and reaching more listeners.
Sign up for our Pink Kink Institute classes. Shop at our Etsy shop, Pink Kink Boutique. Stay connected with us on social media. You'll find all the links on our link tree posted in the show notes.
Your support means the world to us. So until next time, stay pretty, stay safe,
and stay twisted.